Chapter 20, Home Sweet Island. With the egg tucked close to Ruby, the pair walked on, crossing the mysterious beyond. There were only a few Sharptooth here and there, Rex making sure to keep away from them. By and by, they reached the beach across from the island. The cool water felt nice compared to the warm sand underfoot. Rex looked out at the mysterious island, then at Ruby. "This is where we part ways."
"Yes, it was nice, Rex. Thank you for your aid."
"Best of luck."
"With luck, we'll meet again."
"Yeah, I hope the Alpha comes back to you. It's clear you love him, and from what I've heard, he loves you too." Rex gave a nod and headed back toward the mysterious beyond, Ruby seeing the land path and crossing it. She didn't make it halfway when she saw Screech and Thud, the pair coming out to help her the rest of the way.
"What happened to you? You look pretty beat up."
"Let's just say we spotted the mother and egg killer."
"No way. Who was it?"
"A fast runner named Nicky, brother to Ricky. Though none of that really matters now, I suppose."
"Mrs. Boss, where is the boss?" Ruby lowered her face.
"I don't know."
Both shared a concerned look. Then Thud noticed the egg. "Maybe we should talk later." Once on the island, Ruby saw the mother fastbiter, whose eggs had hatched, seeing the little fastbiters scurrying around the nest. When the female saw Ruby, she smiled. "Miss Alpha, I hope you bring good news."
"Yes, the mysterious beyond is now safe for you and your family."
"Oh, wonderful. We'll leave so you can rest and heal." Walking along, the baby fastbiters filed after their mother. "Take care, Miss Alpha." Ruby watched the family cross the land path, going to where their home was. Upon arriving, she saw Fang run over and hug her tightly. Trudy and Rodney joined her, Claw babbling in Rodney's hold. When they saw the egg, they smiled, looking around for Ruby's better half. "Why isn't Chomper here?" Rodney asked.
"I was hoping he was here, that here he would be."
Fang continued to hold onto her mother, not knowing what they were saying, which was for the best. "What do you mean?" Trudy questioned.
"Chomper was different, left me."
Ruby was still confused about the situation herself. "Well, I'm sure he'll come back. For now, let's get you settled in." With the help of her parents, Ruby was able to get around. It was nice to be back on the warm island, being among family. Like before, Ruby sat upon the egg, excited to have another little one. The days passed, and Ruby took extra care, making sure to turn the egg over, laying fresh grass over it each morning. Screech and Thud saw how attentive Ruby was, though they got a bad feeling about the egg, finding it had an off smell. Neither had the heart to say that the egg wouldn't hatch. No matter what she did, the baby within had died and was rotting away. That day, Screech and Thud walked around the island perimeter, the fastbiters exchanging worried looks.
About the egg. What should we do?"
"I don't know, Screech. Mrs. Boss has been through enough already." Screech clicked his tongue, tapping his claws.
"Well, it ain't gonna hatch. And withholding the truth won't do no one no good."
"I know, but Mrs. Boss seems happy. If we tell her, she'll be devastated. Not to mention the boss hasn't come back yet. That alone is on her mind, too."
"It's on all our minds. Look, I think she'll be even more upset when the egg breaks and nothing comes out but a pile of goo."
"Screech!"
"What? The sad truth is, there ain't no right time to tell her."
Screech ducked before Thud could swat him, laughing before he was tripped by the tail.
"If you're too much of a coward, I'll tell her myself."
No, you only make it worse. I'll tell her." Screech rolled his eyes.
"Fine, you go tell her, and I'll keep my eyes out for the boss's return."
Screech scampered off, Thud letting out a deep sigh, knowing what he was about to do could go unbelievably bad, or extremely worse. Making his way through the jungle, he saw the home and let out a heavy breath. Back at the nest, Ruby hummed merrily, smiling when she saw Thud.
"Back from patrol, Thud. Is everything well? Safe as our island? Have you seen Chomper?"
"Yeah, all is good, Mrs. Boss. Unfortunately, there is no sign of the boss." Glancing around, Thud noticed they were alone. "Where are the kids?"
Mom and Dad took them for a swim.
With a nod, Thud sat by her. Mrs. Boss, there's something you should know.
Indeed, I should start coming up with names. I thought of a few and...
She stopped when she saw his expression was soft.
Thud, what's the matter? Why have you been so off? Are you worried about Chomper too?
It's not about the boss, ma'am. It's about the egg. Thud was tough, a killer, but it took all his strength to get the last part out. The egg is not going to hatch. Smells terribly. I'm sorry. I know how happy you were to have another one. Ruby froze and got up, looking down at the egg. The egg looked fine, had no cracks that she saw, for she looked it over carefully each day. No, how could it not hatch? Was that why the fast biters gave it to her? Had they known all along it wouldn't hatch?
Now that you mention it, I never felt it move like the rest.
Feeling a lump in her throat, she took a shaky breath.
What did I do wrong?
Nothing, Mrs. Boss. You did nothing wrong. If anything, you did everything you could.
Did I?
Yes. There are no words. Nothing I can do to fix this. Thud went to try and comfort her, withholding his outstretched arm. The boss was better at this than I am. Ruby said nothing as she processed the truth, that she'd been sitting upon a rotting egg and was completely unaware of it. There was a mix of foolishness, hopelessness, and the worst part was, the one she needed most wasn't there to comfort her. For a while, Ruby stood there, crying, was unable to speak. The pain of losing the egg was like a blow to the chest, leaving her breathless, finding it hard to breathe. It was as though a great boulder struck her, the weight crushing her under it. After some time, when her parents came back, they left Screech take Fang and Claw for a nice walk. There Ruby stood in an almost trance-like state, wringing her hands repeatedly. When it was clear she couldn't make the call, her parents decided it was time to let the egg go. Laying the small egg among a sea of flowers, they set it on a bit of broken bark cut from a rotten log. Ruby placing her hand on it. For a moment she looked at it. Then, with the help of her mother, she pushed it out into the big water, where it could drift farther and farther away. All stood for a while, watching it rise and fall along the waves, vanishing from sight. It was close to the time the bright circle would set, and Screech and Thud saw the younglings were growing tired. Screech, Thud, why don't you and Rodney go tuck the kids in? I'm going to have a word with my daughter. Trudy signed in hand language. None dare argued and couldn't get out of there fast enough. It wasn't that the males didn't empathize with Ruby. They just didn't have the words to comfort her. Once Trudy knew they were alone, she walked out into the water. Ruby was unmoved, eyes focused on the horizon and the setting of the bright circle. Ruby. The tender touch of her mother broke Ruby from her trance. With tear-filled eyes, she faced the aging fast runner.
Oh, Mother, I don't understand. Confused I am over all of this.
About what, dear? What has you so mixed up?
Why I feel so sad.
Ruby shook her head.
I'm mourning for someone I never even knew, someone who never even existed beyond the shell.
And that's why it hurts, my dear, because you imagined a sweet little one, a member of your expanding family. Trudy took a breath and took Ruby in her arms. Ruby buried her face into her mother, crying once more. Before we had you, I had a bad batch of eggs.
What?
Ruby's muffled voice asked. Yes, many females starting out usually produce a bad or even unhatched clutch of eggs. It's not uncommon. Like you, I felt despair, pain, and even shame. There are no words that can bring comfort. Nothing can take the sorrow away.
What did you do?
Your father was so good. was there and helped me see that it wasn't the end. Day by day, it was hard to even get up. But Rodney, he would find the simplest of things, a flower about to bud, a nest of fuzzy things. It was the trivial things that helped me move on, to see there was more after loss. He gave me the strength and will to go on. Then we had an egg, and before I knew it, you came into our world. Our little Ruby, our greatest gift.
Thank you, Mom. I just wish Chomper were here.
He is, so long as you remember him the way he was. The pair stood till the stars appeared, Ruby leaving her mother's side to go to her family. Unlike her mother, she had something else worth fighting for, her young, Fang and Claw. In their home, Fang and Claw slept in the nest, the young huddled close. For a moment she stood, seeing them, feeling her heart beat again, the love flowing back into it. Yes, Chomper's whereabouts were unknown, the egg had been rotten, but she would go on. She was a mother, a warrior, and would continue to not only fight for them, but for herself. It had all been a test of motherhood, one at which Ruby passed, knowing that despite being prey, she would never let anything or anyone harm those she loved.